Glad to be here. Glad to have y'all here. Like seriously.
It's good to
Honestly,
be back. It's good to be in Eldraine too.
Oh man, it's
yeah,
been a
good timing.
blast.
Oh man. Darkstream, how are you? How have you been? How's your weekend been?
Oh god, just messing with Ash Vale and all the new fun little things we can do with it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Guys, it's been a hell of a week, to say the least. But
Yes.
I think this is the core team right here. I wanted to have the core team on this week to kind of just reinforce who we are, first of all, but second of all, to talk about this set because I think everybody has pretty much tackled it from a different angle this week, whether it's a different kind of deck archetype that you've been after, or just a different kind of opinion that you've had on very popular cards, very popular hot takes out there. It's been really wild. No pun intended. It really has been wild, and it's been all over the place. The opinions I've seen on social media, uh, Twitter X, to say the least. There's been other spots as well on social media where this set has been talked about. So I want to get started. First of all, welcome everybody to the MTG Rebellion Rebelcast episode 20. That's right, episode 20. It
Almost
feels
old enough to drink.
it feels really good to say that actually. I think wow, I've been so stressed about finding the audience, finding the base for this show, and I feel like we're starting to gain a little traction here. The same people have been coming back week after week, whether it's on my stream coming in and telling me what they think of the Rebelcast, or just in the comments on Spotify or on YouTube, letting me know what they think of the content. I think they honestly like the fact that we keep things real. That's the one thing I hear the most. But I want to get to you guys. I want to ask each of you. We'll start with the dark stream because you push this content harder than anyone. The rebellion content on YouTube. You push it really hard, and you help do a lot of the research and a lot of the work for it. By the way, so I think you deserve that round of applause. But I wanted to ask you, what has reaching 1,000 followers meant for you? What do you see in the future of this group?
I mean, for me, it's more of a goalpost. It's a signpost. It's a number. It just means we've hit the first goal, and there are many, many, many more to come. 10,000, 100,000. These are goals. These are places we're trying to get to. I think we have the kind of people that can do that, and frankly, I think the community is hungry for a kind of content that they have not yet witnessed. I've been around for a long time. I've watched over 20 years of Magic content. I've watched it morph, and I see a lot of holes that people have not tried to delve into. And I'm very curious to see what happens when we start filling those.
Yeah, certainly a lot of content niches. I think is what you're referring to that need to be filled because honestly, well, I mean, I want to speak for the whole community when I say I think the deck gameplay videos are starting to become a thing of the past, or at least they're evolving, they're adapting. Some of the content that has traditionally been MTG content and MTG arena content. I don't want to say it's on its way out, but it's definitely changing. It's definitely adapting to what the audience is really asking for, and I think within all of that, competitive content has really come to the fore recently, and we've been very, even if it's just a little slice of the pie, we've been partially responsible for that. I want to say, for trying to bridge the gap between casual and competitive, and show that anybody can be good at this game. Um, Griffin Ryder, you're somebody who's talked about this bridge between casual and competitive in the past. What's your take so far on what the rebellion has meant for you and where you want to push the group, if you could?
For me, the group as a whole has just been a great place to bounce ideas, you know, work out why some cards are great and some cards aren't. Like you really learn how to deck build when you are around like-minded people who want the same goal in mind. And with all of us pushing that competitive win at all cost mindset, we're gonna find the best solutions for the problems that are in whatever format we're trying to work on.
Hell yeah. The playtesting and bouncing ideas back and forth about decks and new cards has been really helpful for me this week. I can personally attest. Peridabo, where are you at in your playtesting, your deck building? What colors are you looking at? And what archetypes are you looking at that you want to build and have been building for this week?
This week I've done a little bit of a soul tie self mill. It's been fun just dropping huge monsters turn after turn on the board. You just got to get some sort of evasion to swing through for damn near lethal, if not completely lethal, with just one creature getting through. Other than that, a little bit of Jund fun stuff. It's been a blast, man. I've been enjoying the ladder. Even taking the L's on the ladder, like it's been interesting with all the new cards. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen that interaction yet. This has been it's just been great, man. I'm enjoying the new set as much as one can.
Yeah, I can say from the moment we started doing early access to even yesterday when I was streaming, it has been every color for me. Like trying to figure out every new archetype that I can get my hands on. Whether it's Demir Fairies, whether it's Jund. I know you and I have been fans of Jund lately. Trying to figure out dragons in multiple color schemes. I think everything and anything I've touched has, if it's not brought me, wins on ladder or on or live, it's at least brought me some kind of fun, some combo-y aspect that I enjoy from Magic the Gathering. So it feels reminiscent of I don't want to say the set is similar to in its mechanics, but the feeling, the vibe of the set is similar to Khans and Dragons of Tarkir for me. That's what I think of. I know a lot of people think of the original Eldraine as well, but I don't think this set's as powerful as that set, nor does it need to be to have an impact on standard. Darkstream, we were talking earlier today about markers, reasons, at least I was to you, markers for why I think this set is having a bigger impact on standard competitive than a lot of people guessed that it would before it came out. And one of those has been sort of, what new cards are you seeing in events, top eights, tier one, tier two? We're gonna have a state of the meta video coming out soon, by the way. Talk to us about how you feel about the impact of Wilds of Eldraine on standard, and if it's gonna have, you predict any kind of impact on other formats.
I can tell you straight up, it's going to have an impact as far-reaching as Vintage. Beseech the Mirror is breaking that format in half right now. If you've not had the fun of playing 4 Moxes, followed by Beseech the Mirror, bargaining a Mox away and getting to play Tendrils for 10 already on turn 1, like, that deck is nuts. It's gonna be a lot of fun in those formats. But as far as the rest of Wilds, most of it doesn't translate, and that's common. I mean, that's what happens with Standard. You're lucky if you get a card powerful enough to mess with an older format, but you want stuff that's going to mix up the current meta, and we're seeing that. And I think the biggest marker I see is that I haven't seen a lot of control. And if you don't see control in week 1, it means the format has shifted enough that control keeps getting wrecked, and that control has to rebuild how it thinks about a format. That's usually a really good indicator that the format has shifted in a meaningful way.
Hell yeah, that's definitely the marker. I think I was saying to you that Control is seeing a reset, obviously, because of the new set release and trying to figure out what it needs to counter, what it needs to go up against. What do you think? I asked this question to everybody this week, and I want to get you guys' responses. Griffin, I'll start with you because you do play some ladder. Which control deck are you running up against that's like been really the toughest one? There's been an Esper, there's been an Azorius, there's even been an Orzhov, which I think has morphed into tokens, but also has been largely an anti-mono black deck in the past. Are you running into any three of those? What are your experiences against control?
I've maybe run into Esper once. The closest thing to a control deck that I run into this past week has been Domain and their heavy use of ossification and the white domain. I know the card. I've had the card in every deck. The domain one.
Leyline?
Leyline, yeah. Yeah. And right now green is equipped to deal with that. So I'm not super worried about control. At least not until the meta has settled and figure out what the cream of the crop is.
I wanted to pull up for the people real quick what at least one form of the standard meta looks like right now. We look at multiple data sets when we talk about states of the meta, when we talk about the meta in our playtesting, what decks to try out. But here we go. Here's one peek. Obviously, this is voluntary information from MTGA assistant, so take a grain of salt with any of these data sets. What you see, they're all going to be from a limited perspective. Um, it looks like based on this, Demir is obviously still up there, and we'll talk. I want to ask Darshini about that in just a second here. You bring up Esper Control. I've also run into Esper Control just in my limited playing on ladder this week, and here's that's not the version. I think it's gonna be like the second or third in the list. Here we go. I think this is it. Uh, right, yeah, this is it. 2 Siphon Insights, plenty of Edict, a couple of Go for the Throat, some negates, the 3 Make Disappears. Yeah, this is the typical list I see right here, where it's almost it's hard to tell what the win condition is. It seems like the only win condition is Wandering Emperor. Darkstream, what do you see for the future of Esper Control? Is it going to dominate as time goes on? Is it going to have to take a backseat to what's out there right now? What do you predict?
I mean, it's going to get better as time goes on, but there are some specific things that are going to mess with it. What I've noticed is actually a number of domain lists have begun pushing harder into Hullbreaker Horror and pushing into Blue and just saying, you know what? Fuck control. We're just going to beat it over the head. If we can't resolve Atraxa, we'll just play Horror and bounce our way through everything you're doing. So I think it's going to be kept in check to a degree by the way the meta is morphing and the fact that you look at what's seeing play like Demir versus Control, that is a nightmare matchup to navigate if you're the Control player. They have so much fluidity. They can snowball card advantage so quickly. I wouldn't want to be on the side of Control going up against Demir personally.
Yeah, Demir is still out there, and one of the questions I asked when we promote our videos pre Wilds of Eldraine was, is Demir Fairies going to take over the Demir color set? I think the answer to that is no. just right now, it doesn't feel like that deck has enough firepower to really do what Demir Demir mid range is doing for the moment. But what is Demir Control? What is the future of this deck? Because I know Domain is seeing a ton of play. It's really come back. It's become a very popular list right now. Just I think my prediction, my reasoning, my logic behind it is Domain is so predictable in what it wants to do and has so many ways of making sure that that happens, that it's a deck that you can rely upon. It's probably one of the more consistent decks on ladder. Is Demir midrange the same? We're seeing it tier 1 most of the time the last couple of months. What's going on with that deck?
Well, I will say that Domain got a few new tools, and so people are trying those out. The Iron Crag is a very good mana rock to get into turn 3 invasions. Up the Beanstalk is seeing play as 3 or even 4 ofs because it's just a cantrip that'll eventually net you card advantage. So in those longer games, especially against control, you just have an engine for 2 mana that they have to deal with, and they don't want to. So I think Domain got a lot of new tools that stupid little rocket raccoon whatever from Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody's
Yeah.
gonna alter that shit in paper. Everybody is. That
Oh
card's
yeah.
good. That card's scary good. I mean, you can literally hit the adventure on that and just flip into an Atraxa, and all of a sudden you're back in the game. So you get all this firepower from a creature that also ramps you. It's got a lot of new tools. I think Domain's going to be a main stage player moving forward. It's a question of how aggressive the format gets, whether anybody can get under it. Demir, on the other hand, I think it's going to have a little bit of a fall from grace. It's still going to be a tier 1 contender, but I do not think it will be as dominant in this standard as it was in the prior standard. There are tools that were given to other archetypes, Golgari in particular, that will allow other decks to compete at a higher level and push through. And I'm personally doing that right now with Golgari because I got tired of playing Demir. So it's been very rewarding.
Golgari, that's another deck I want to talk about. Uh Paradabo, you love the black archetypes. So I think of you
These things are true.
every time we come to this. I know you've been playing a little bit with Rakdos, testing out dragons in different shells. That's what I've been doing anyway, in 3-color shells. Have you tried out Golgari yet or played against it? What are your feelings
Of
about
course
Golgari
I
aggro?
have. I'm digging the Golgari, man. Like it, Mosswood Dread Knight, phenomenal card. You know, we still got underdog with our black, so we got constant ways to draw and constant ways. Use your cut downs. if the opponent uses cut downs, it doesn't matter. We're just burning through their cut downs and putting the thing back the next turn anyway. So it feels good. Then we got the draw engines with Glissa and Gix. You know, like Shelly, it feels good that I'm not running for Shelly anymore just because it isn't as necessary. It seems like a big play to have to spend 4 mana when I'm trying to advance everything else. So the
Yeah.
fact that we've cut it down a little and we're able to move a little faster and just sort of overwhelm them. I mean, get Glissa on the board. I mean, they have to deal with Glissa. If not, you can just sit there and constantly take everything out of their I don't know, anything off their board. They want to block, it's gonna die. They want to not block, then we get advantage. Like she's just a house, man. I'd rather have more of her than Shelly, even though Shelly's gonna eventually drain them out. I'd rather just be pushing with Glissa.
I want to push you on two subjects here. One, you brought up Shelly. I think this is also something the Rebellion's been talking about, but just the trend of cutting down at least the copies of Shelly in these black base decks, almost just where some decks this week, and I thought it was just a Brewers kind of thing, but no copies of Sheldred trying out different 4-drop cards in the black base color schemes. So talk to us about that. Are you seeing other people do that as well? Decks get slimmer, cutting the Shelly. What cards are we seeing in its place?
The end, which is why I don't bother
Yeah.
running for Shelly anymore.
Yeah.
You know, hit anything with the end and it feels bad. If I get hit with the end and I had 4 copies, there's just this sunken feeling I get, you know, just
Yeah.
you just wrecked something that you were more or less not, I won't say relying on, but knew was there, knew was available. Like I mean, when I was testing with you, Darkstream, hitting your first Emperor those games at the end, I can't tell you the relief I felt going against your control deck, knowing that I took out the first of 4 and got all the rest of them for that same cost of you exiling your creature. So I don't really want to run as many 4 drops that I'm just sort of depending on when we got things like the end running around. It just feels bad to have it snatched out of your entire deck.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was I think for the first few days of Wilds of Eldraine, we were all kind of playing around with the idea of Tyvar in different shells. How do you feel about Tyvar, whether it's Jund, whether it's Golgari? I think some of us kind of got away from that. Are you still playing around with Tyvar, or is Tyvar just on the way out?
Uh, I mean, I don't know that he's on his way out, but I've been utilizing him because he fits in my soul tie. He fits in my Jund, and it just feels good to be able to recycle cards. And primarily, I want them when I'm running anything with Blood Type Harvester. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it feels good just to be able to keep bringing Harvester back and just keep moving things out of my way, especially if I'm trying to use Gix to draw. I'll just keep bringing the Blood Tithe back, getting whatever's in the way out the way, run Glisa in, and get my draw, or just make them have to block. So that feels good. Then the Sultai Self Mill Tyvar is pretty self evident. He does everything you want him to do in that deck. He's adding to your pile, making your creatures bigger, and most of my threats are 2 drops to just get bigger the more full my yard is. So with that deck, he seems like a obvious add. Just took figuring out evasion, which thanks to recommendations from our team here, I was able to apply a couple cards, and that thing has been fun. I mean, you that's what I brought on your stream last night. Was that Sultai Self Mill? Just
Oh
it's
yeah.
a fun deck. Like I
It
wouldn't
wrecked my
say it's
face.
I wouldn't say it's phenomenal, but it's fun, and sometimes that's all I want to do. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't mind getting on the ladder and grinding, but there's times I only have so long, so I just want to get in BO3, just see what feels good, see what else is out there.
Hell
But
yeah.
as far as Tyvar goes, I'm using them.
Oh yeah, and be on the lookout for Sultai, Jund, Golgari, all these decks. We're keeping an eye on all of these new brews. We're not just looking at what's winning events and what's on ladder, which, you know, may be a little bit different from the week 1 meta, in my opinion. After week 1, things settle down quite a bit. But yeah, look out for the Say the Meta video coming up soon. We're going to be having a very special Brewers Corner with some very special new brews for you. We'd like to honor both the very competitive side of Magic the Gathering and also the very brew friendly side as well. So be on the lookout for that. Griffin Rider, let's get into just sort of what our fit. What pick a card, pick a deck. What do you wish would work in from Wilds of Eldraine? What card have you just you're in love with the card? It's either become your pet card or it's really working for you. What card or deck have you been trying to make work?
I wouldn't really say it's my pet card, but playing against it, the White Virtue is just insane.
Hmm.
Like once it hits the board, it's basically GG's, especially with a wedding invitation out too. Like White should just start with the White Virtue, wedding invitation, and Emperor, and go from there. Like those three cards together should just dominate right now.
And we're talking about the Virtue of Loyalty, which is an adventure enchantment. Very interesting combination of cards there. I have it up on the screen for the folks at home. But yeah, oh my god. The 5-drop side of it, at the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1. Each creature you control, untap those creatures.
So basically, all your creatures get vigilance and they get pumped up. And if wedding announcement has already flipped, they've already got the 1/1 off of that to begin with. So your creatures come in out of cut down range. Like you're putting pressure on your opponent to find real removal.
Yeah. Uh, I already am thinking about like my Bant deck with Bant Ascendancy in there. I'm thinking about Naya tokens. But mono white, you could really just run this in mono white if you wanted to. Darkstream, talk to us about token decks lately. I know you've been playing around, you've been play testing with some of them. Early access, we had an Orzhov tokens list that we talked about. Where are you now on these token decks? What's the best shell for them?
It's going to be very debatable. There was a 128-man tournament that Naya tokens took down. I don't actually agree with the build
Mm.
whatsoever. I think it was more of a Brewers casual event looking at it. But there's also Orzhov tokens, Azorius tokens, and Mono White, and those are the four that I've seen. And right now, I'm just going to petition the group that we call Orzhov tokens, Morzov. Anyway,
Morzov.
just putting that out there.
I'll allow it.
Right, right. But the point is, all of these decks follow the same best curve plan of turn 2 Virtue Adventure, turn 3 Announcement, turn 4 Emperor, turn 5 Other Side of Virtue. And if you curve in that manner, you are going to beat a lot of decks in this format. So if you take that as the shell and you say, okay, that's only 3 cards, that's 12 cards, we can build around that. What you have the opportunity to do is figure out where you have to position the rest. So if you go into Azorius, you're saying, all right, we need counterspells. We can't get run over the top by domain. If you go into Orzhov, you're saying we don't want people going under us. Let's get cut downs. Let's get some duresses for disruption. Let's get go for the throats. Let's get Pylon, which is fantastic with Convoke and tokens. Like that card might finally be relevant. And if you, for some reason, go to Naya tokens, then you have the ability to play Pia, which we've seen make a huge splash in Pioneer. We've seen it make a splash in Explorer to a degree, but we've not seen it make any impact on Standard. However, the deck that took down that 128-man tournament has 4 Pias. And while I disagree with most of the build, the core concept, I think, is actually very strong. Those virtues, by the way, they come in from exile. They trigger Pia as well.
Oh yeah. Pia, that is that the same card that's well known in Explorer Pioneer?
Yes, Council
Okay.
of Revival, you
Yeah.
get some of the exact same effects.
Okay. Very cool. Wow. I've honestly not toyed around with tokens at all just because there's so many possible shells, except for like Bant. I've been playing around with Bant and Bant Ascendancy and trying to make that card work for a long time now, actually. Um, but yeah, I think Mono White was the last time I really tested. Do you support the use of Mondrak in that deck, or do you think Mondrak is too clunky?
I think of it as win more. By the time
Yeah.
Mondrak is up and functioning, you probably already stabilized the board, and now you're just piling on when you should be able to be just fine regardless. The indestructible part matters less and less because, as we've talked about, the exile effects have gotten better. The end sees play. The end, in my opinion, was Wizards saying, oh god, we did Shieldred and other really broken legendary creatures, so this is the perfect removal spell to deal with that shit.
Yeah. They didn't want to admit defeat on printing Meat Hook, Invoke, and Shieldred in the same in the same standard. They could only like really ban one at a time there, and banning Shieldred might have admitted a little bit of defeat. I don't know, but then they printed Beseech the Shieldred, so I don't know how to feel about that. But anyway, so I wanna ask you, what's your favorite card out of everything you've been playtesting? What do you wish, if you had a magic wand, could work competitively right now?
If I had a magic wand to make a bad deck good, the Sir Ginger Meal Ender. As a ginger, people have sent me like 18 fucking brews of this deck, and I have not found one that works. I've tried so many ways to make Sir Ginger the best possible deck, and it doesn't work, guys. I've tried. I've tried.
Oh,
I,
I
I
feel
wanted
that. I
to
feel that.
so badly. I wanted to so badly. They just didn't give it quite enough support. It kills me.
Paradavo, your turn. What card do you want to make work from Wilds of Eldraine the most?
First one to grab my attention and the one I've been working with is the Cruel Somnophage. It looks like
Okay.
it's fun.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? It has been fun.
Yeah, you've actually been making that work. So I
Right.
don't really need
Yeah,
a magic wand for that one.
There's a couple outlets that make it not just huge, but when you give that thing evasion, it just steamrolls a board, or you just go over them all together and they don't have a chance, and it feels good.
Yeah, exactly. If I had to pick anything that I wanted to make work, it would probably be Decadent Dragon. I put Decadent Dragon in a Grixis Dragon Shell that I'm going to test out. I haven't really played any matches with it. I just kind of built it and put it out there on Twitter to see what people thought. But Decadent Dragon, I love the adventure side of it. Just one in a black, top 2 exiled. You get to play those. Like that is to me, that's a little bit better than Siphon Insight.
I would add a minor addendum on Decadent Dragon. It doesn't allow you to play them for any mana color. So if you
That's
exile
true.
a bunch of green, like green and white spells, you may not get to play them ever. That's the one downside versus Siphon Insight.
That is very true, and a very important note. Very, very important nuance there.
I only know that because I played Decadent Dragon. I'm like, this card's so broken. And then I played it against Lesnia, and I'm like, I can't play any of these fucking cards. What the hell?
That's why you're supposed to exile one of their lands.
Yo,
You just have to exile the right cards.
Yeah.
see? Pro move. Get your opponent's cards off the top in the correct order.
Oh God, I can't tell y'all how many conversations when Siphon Insight came out there were in the dark corners of social media, MTG social media, where they were just saying, "Does Siphon Insight like negative mana fix your opponent? Like, is it making sure your opponent doesn't get their land drops?" And there's this whole statistical
that was the
debate.
first good use of it I had actually seen. Somebody on opponent's instep grabbing the first 2, and they would rip lands every time just to make sure, or try to ensure, that opponent's getting less consistent land drops. Like, they didn't care about the actual cards; they just wanted the lands. Keep the opponent down as long as possible, which seems effective in some aspect. You just never know if they're going to top deck either.
It reminds me of the glory days of Jace. Looking at the top of your opponent's deck and putting the lands on the bottom.
Hell yeah.
Honest to God, it just reminds me of the old school Drownu mirrors where you're charging up Dreadship Reefs. You know, it's got the same vibes of like, okay, if we're playing control v control, we're just grabbing lands because if I make more land drops than you, eventually I will be able to cast one more fucking counterspell than you, and I will resolve the win con.
Oh my God, you talk about those mirrors from way back in the day where it just came down to the first person to be able to do that. That's a whole nother kind of magic compared to today's magic, in my opinion. Like, it's just totally different. You don't get mirrors like that anymore too much.
No, they made sure that those wouldn't be possible by printing cards like Hullbreaker Horror. They were like, okay, we all dealt with 15 turns of nobody doing anything before. We're not doing that shit anymore.
That's why when anybody complains about Azorius or control or counter spells, you don't know. You just don't know. You don't know, kid.
And I mean, now people they tilt and they scoop, and I'm like, you don't remember back in the day when you were in a competitive match, you didn't scoop. Even if you were at the 2% out, you were just like, nah, we're playing it. You might hit that 2% where you miss.
You really might. I think Arena has led to a lot of people giving up too easy as a habit, as a bad habit. That's one of those bad habits we talk about, Arena. If you don't play any paper, you just play Arena, you'll develop that as a bad habit, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that it does for you, and in doing those things for you and speeding up the gameplay, it also allows you to play sloppy, and
Mhm.
it really pushes that for people that never. I mean, I don't blame people for doing it because I think a lot of people started on Arena, so they never had somebody sit down and go, "Okay, kid, if you're going to sequence, play your lands on main phase too, if you can." You know, like just basic stuff that you
Yeah.
don't learn unless you're hanging out with old pros, which I get because I got to hang out with old pros, and they let me know that a lot. So.
Fair enough. Uh, Griffin Rider, you play paper, right? What have you been playing lately? Do you have any plans for any paper events in the future? What's going on?
I haven't gotten to play a lot lately, but with this season being modern RCQ,
Hmm.
I got to stock on those up the beanstalks. I got to get some Nisses. I got to get my elementals tuned up and get back to paper.
I'm glad to hear you're getting out there. Paradabo, are you out there as well? I know you're just like me. You built the Gruul Pioneer deck recently, and I haven't completed mine. I'm still looking for the Sky Sovereigns, but how are you doing?
In my area, there's not too much to do. So I've pretty much done pre-releases, but there's been new people around. They're pushing things, and they're supposed to have some modern going on. So I'm looking to get into some practice with that. Uh, if I drive 60, 70 miles the other way, I can go do some Pioneer, which I have done. That was fun, you know. And other than that, that's about all that's going on in my area. But pre-release was paper. That was fun.
Hell yeah. Uh, Darkstream, I haven't really heard about your if you've been playing any paper. I know you've been very busy with all these projects for the Rebellion, among other things. What, if any, are you doing any paper in the future, in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, so the events in the Midwest have gotten a lot more friendly to the idea of proxies for legacy events where they do like team trios and they're like, okay, Pioneer, Modern, you got to have it. But Legacy, we just need more people to be in these events. So fuck it. It's all fair game as long as it's high end proxies.
Cool.
So I am starting to test for Legacy in addition to Vintage. I mean, Vintage for me is my baby. That's where I like to be. But we can play Vintage with a condom known as Legacy. So
I like that. That's kind of what people say about Pioneer and Modern.
right, right. Sometimes you want the
uh,
good, and sometimes you settle. It's okay.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, and I'm just kind of dipping my toes into Pioneer here in the upcoming future. Just very casual over here at the LGS. There's more Commander than anything. Of course, that's a common story across the country at the moment. So I have Commander decks as well. I bought a couple of Commander Masters decks. I've just been playing with the wife. It's very casual, but I want to play Modern. I want to play Pioneer, and hopefully unlearn some of the bad habits from the pandemic and just playing Arena is what I'm trying to do. That's just my base goal right now. But I will definitely be at DreamHack Atlanta this December 15th through the 17th. And I'm going to be representing MTG content creation there. It's for any kind of content creation, but I'm going to be doing arena. I'm going to bring my decks and just see if any of my fans, any of you guys want to come and face off and some commanders, some two-headed giants, some whatever the hell. I don't even care. I just want to play some paper with some people. But this is the team. I have it up on the screen. This is the team. If you're a small time MTG content creator, if you're just getting your toes wet, or if you've been in the game for several years and whether you've hit a wall, you're frustrated with it or not, whether you've seen some success but you want to see more, come check us out. You can either go to our website mtgrebellion.com, check us out on Twitter, check X, whatever you want to call it. We also have a Discord links in all of those, and our YouTube channel has Discord links as well. You can come reach out to us directly, and any of these guys would gladly help you out with any of your needs when it comes to small time content creation and trying to get bigger. Any final words for the folks at home? Darth Rictus of the Dark Stream.
I will help you out, but not with your OnlyFans. If you want to combine MTG and OnlyFans, more power to you, but I'm not dealing with that.
Maybe if it's a foot fetish kind of thing. Those are kind of low effort, aren't they?
Only if it's Nerdy Steve. I will help Nerdy Steve with anything.
Shout out to Dirty Steve. Griffin Rider, any final words for the folks at home today?
Let's just keep pushing this meta. Let's have some fun. I'm enjoying it, and I know everybody here is, and more than happy to share that with everybody else.
Hell yeah, that is definitely one of our goals, is making this game fun for everybody, creating that fun environment. Peridabo, final words for the folks at home, sir.
Play more Magic so we can have more people to play against. The more people play, the more people are creating weird ass things that I had not thought of. Even as the four of us here, we can only think of so much, man. Like, we'll bounce ideas, but the more people playing, the more weird ass interactions we'll get, and that's what I want to see. This game, that's what makes this game interesting, is all these things that could happen. Like, it's, I don't know. I just love this. So I want you to love it too. So play more Magic.
Yeah, we love this game. We want to share it with everybody, and even as competitors, even as just people looking for a fun time. Whatever hat we're wearing at the moment, it's always about spreading fun, no matter what. Follow these guys, all their socials: Griffin Rider MTG, Peridabo, the Dark Stream, Darth Rictus of the Dark Stream. Go follow all of them, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch. And that's it. I think that's all the time we have for today. From everybody at the MTG Rebellion, don't forget to untap, upkeep,
Resist.
Have a good night, everybody.
Follow our OnlyFans.
Yes.